Have you ever achieved something you've worked toward for years, only to feel like you somehow fooled everyone into believing you deserved it? Perhaps you received a promotion, graduated from university, launched a successful business, or simply walked into a room filled with talented people. Instead of feeling proud, a quiet voice appeared. Sooner or later, they're going to discover you don't belong here. Strangely, this feeling isn't limited to beginners. Some of the world's most accomplished scientists, CEOs, artists, professors, and even Nobel Prize winners have privately admitted to feeling exactly the same. Despite overwhelming evidence of their competence, they secretly believed they were frauds. Psychologists call this phenomenon imposter syndrome. But that name is slightly misleading, because the problem isn't that you're an imposter. The problem is that your brain has an unusual way of measuring competence. And once you understand how that system works, something fascinating begins to happen. You stop seeing your self-doubt as evidence and begin seeing it as a prediction. To understand why, we need to travel back hundreds of thousands of years, long before offices, universities, performance reviews, or social media. Our ancestors lived inside small tribes. In those tribes, survival depended almost entirely on social acceptance. Being rejected wasn't merely embarrassing. It could mean isolation, starvation, or death. The human brain therefore evolved an extraordinary sensitivity towards social status. Every conversation, every facial expression, every sign of approval or rejection could potentially affect survival. This ancient monitoring system never disappeared. It simply adapted. Today, the predators are different. Instead of lions, we fear embarrassment. Instead of starvation, we fear failure. Instead of exile from the tribe, we fear being exposed as not good enough. Your brain still scans your social environment every day, not asking, "Am I intelligent?" but asking something far more primitive. Do I still belong? This is why entering a prestigious company, speaking in front of an audience, receiving recognition, or joining highly talented people can paradoxically increase anxiety rather than confidence, because success changes the stakes. When you know very little, there isn't much to lose. But the moment people begin expecting something from you, your brain starts calculating risk. What if I disappoint them? What if this success was luck? What if next time I fail? Notice something important. None of these questions are observations. They are predictions, and the brain is remarkably good at generating them. In fact, modern neuroscience suggests that your brain functions less like a camera recording reality, and more like a prediction engine constantly guessing what happens next. It predicts what you will see, what you will hear, how other people will react, and perhaps most importantly, who you are. That last prediction quietly shapes almost everything you experience. If your internal model still sees you as someone who hasn't truly earned success, no amount of external achievement automatically updates that prediction, because the brain doesn't simply absorb evidence. It filters evidence through existing beliefs. And that's where imposter syndrome quietly begins. If the brain is constantly predicting who you are, why doesn't success automatically make you feel more confident? After all, if you've received promotions, finished difficult projects, or earned the respect of people around you, shouldn't your brain eventually conclude, maybe I actually am capable? Surprisingly, that's not how prediction works. The brain is not an unbiased observer collecting evidence. It is a remarkably efficient pattern detector. And once it builds an internal model of reality, its first priority is no longer discovering the truth. Its first priority is maintaining a stable prediction. Neuroscientists call this predictive processing. Rather than waiting for information to arrive, your brain constantly generates expectations first. Reality simply updates, or confirms, those expectations. Most of the time, this makes life incredibly efficient. You don't consciously calculate every step while walking. You don't analyze every word during a conversation. The brain predicts what is most likely to happen, long before it actually happens. But this same system has an unexpected weakness. If your brain predicts, "I'm not really competent," it begins interpreting reality through that prediction. Imagine receiving praise after giving an excellent presentation. Objectively, the evidence seems obvious. People applaud. Your manager compliments your work. Several colleagues tell you how helpful your presentation was, yet somehow, your mind quietly whispers, "They were just being polite." Anyone could have done that. I got lucky. Now imagine making one small mistake a week later. Perhaps you forget one statistic, mispronounce a word, or struggle to answer one difficult question. Suddenly, your brain reacts very differently. There it is. Now everyone knows. Notice what just happened. 100 pieces of positive evidence disappeared almost instantly. One tiny mistake became overwhelming proof. This is called confirmation bias. The brain naturally searches for information that supports its existing prediction while quietly ignoring information that contradicts it. It isn't lying to you, it's filtering. Imagine wearing glasses with slightly tinted lenses. After a few hours, you stop noticing the color. Eventually, you assume the entire world simply looks that way. Your beliefs function similarly. They become invisible. You don't experience them as interpretations. You experience them as reality. Psychologists call these deep internal beliefs self-schemas. They are mental blueprints answering questions like, who am I? What kind of person am I? What should I expect from myself? Once established, these schemas quietly organize enormous amounts of information. Suppose two people receive exactly the same compliment. You handled that meeting brilliantly. The first person smiles. Thank you. The compliment fits their self-image. The prediction and reality match. Very little mental effort is required. The second person feels uncomfortable. Their brain immediately begins searching for alternative explanations. They're exaggerating. They don't know the real me. I just happen to sound confident today. Exactly the same reality. Completely different experience. Not because the world changed, but because the prediction changed. This explains one of the strangest paradoxes surrounding imposter syndrome. Many people believe confidence appears after achieving success, yet countless studies suggest almost the opposite. Success often creates even greater self-doubt. Why? Because every achievement raises the expectations. A university student worries about graduating. A graduate worries about getting hired. An employee worries about becoming a manager. A manager worries about leading an entire team. A CEO worries about maintaining the company's success. The destination keeps moving. Each achievement simply unlocks another level of uncertainty. Your brain interprets this uncertainty as potential danger. Not because you're failing, but because the stakes appear higher than ever before. Ironically, the people most likely to experience imposter syndrome are often the ones who care deeply about doing excellent work. They constantly notice their own limitations. They compare themselves to experts. They see how much they still have left to learn. Meanwhile, everyone else only sees the finished performance. They never witness the uncertainty happening behind the scenes. And because every successful person hides their private doubts, everyone assumes they're the only ones secretly pretending. The result is a psychological illusion. A room filled with competent people, each privately convinced they're the least competent person there. What looks like confidence from the outside often feels like uncertainty from within. And that illusion can continue for decades, unless the brain learns a completely different way of interpreting self-doubt. If imposter syndrome isn't caused by a lack of ability, then why do so many people spend years trying to earn enough success to finally feel worthy? Because the brain quietly makes a promise. Once you achieve one more thing, then you'll feel confident. One more promotion, one more degree, one more client, one more award, one more accomplishment. The problem is, the prediction machine doesn't stop after success. It simply moves the finish line. The moment you accomplish one goal, your brain immediately asks, can you do it again? Notice what's happening. The brain isn't measuring your past. It's predicting your future. And predictions are never completely certain. This is why confidence built entirely on achievement is surprisingly fragile. Every new challenge threatens to erase it. Every unfamiliar situation feels like starting over. Every success becomes something you now have to defend. Psychologists working with acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT, discovered something fascinating. The people who escaped chronic self-doubt weren't necessarily the ones who stopped having insecure thoughts. They were the ones who stopped treating those thoughts as objective reality. This process is called cognitive diffusion. Imagine you're about to give an important presentation. A thought suddenly appears. Everyone is going to realize I'm a fraud. Most people instinctively argue with the thought. No, they won't. I prepared enough. I'm qualified. Sometimes that works. Often, it doesn't. Because the brain simply generates another prediction. But what if you're wrong? Now you're arguing with your own prediction machine. A machine that evolved specifically to imagine possible danger. Instead of fighting the thought, ACT suggests something surprisingly simple. Notice it, name it, create a little distance from it. Rather than saying, I'm a fraud, try saying, my brain is predicting that I'm a fraud. Only a few words change, but psychologically, everything changes. The thought is no longer your identity. It becomes an event happening inside your mind, like hearing thunder in the distance. You notice it, but you don't confuse it with yourself. Neuroscience suggests that every time reality contradicts one of the brain's fearful predictions, the brain receives something called a prediction error. Prediction errors are incredibly important. They are how the brain updates itself. Imagine speaking at a meeting despite feeling like an imposter. Your brain predicts humiliation. Instead, people listen. The meeting ends. Life continues. Your prediction wasn't completely accurate. That small mismatch becomes new information. At first, the changes are almost invisible. You contribute another idea. Nobody laughs. You ask a question. Nobody judges you. You admit you don't know something. People respect your honesty. You make a mistake. The world doesn't collapse. Each experience becomes another tiny correction inside the nervous system, one false alarm at a time. Eventually, the prediction machine becomes a little less convinced that danger is everywhere. Not because life became perfectly safe, but because reality repeatedly proved more balanced than fear. Perhaps that's the deepest lesson hidden inside imposter syndrome. Your brain isn't trying to sabotage you. It's trying to protect you, using a strategy that once kept human beings alive. The problem is that an ancient survival system cannot always distinguish between genuine incompetence and the uncertainty that naturally comes with growth. Every meaningful step forward contains uncertainty. Every new responsibility feels unfamiliar. Every expert was once a beginner who doubted themselves. The next time you hear that quiet voice saying, "You don't belong here," pause before believing it. Instead, ask yourself, what is my brain trying to predict right now? That single question transforms self-doubt from an identity into information. Because once you can observe the prediction, you no longer have to live inside it. And perhaps confidence was never about eliminating uncertainty. Perhaps confidence is the willingness to keep moving, even while uncertainty walks beside you. Because the people you admire most probably still hear that same quiet voice. The difference is, they stopped asking whether the voice was true and started asking whether it deserved to be obeyed. True confidence isn't the absence of self-doubt. It's recognizing that your thoughts can speak without making your decisions for you. And that may be the moment you finally realize you were never an imposter, only a human being whose brain was trying a little too hard to keep you safe.